Ah, sit close, my children. The fire is warm and the night is young. Let me tell you of a time not long ago in the village of Apitu, where the drums speak softly and the winds carry the wisdom of the ancestors. You see, Apitu wasn't the biggest village, but it sat at the crossroads of 5 others, like a calabash in the center of a feast. Our land was rich with cocoa and cassava. The rains came when the drums called, and the people lived as one. But like any place, we had our troubles. And in one season of sorrow and silence, everything changed because of a boy named Kojo. I knew Kojo. I knew his father too, Chief Nana Tando, a man of deep voice and deeper spirit. When he walked through the village square, even the goats bowed their heads. His eyes saw everything, from broken fences to broken hearts. He ruled Apitu for 37 rainy seasons. Chief Tando had 3 sons, each strong in their own way. The eldest, Yo, had arms like tree trunks and loved to wrestle. The second, Kweku, could ride a horse bareback across a hill without spilling his calabash of palm wine. But Kojo was different. He was the youngest, thin as sugarcane stalk, eyes always buried in scrolls. Not the kind of scrolls that tell you how to win wars or manage cocoa farms. No. He read about stars, about herbs that whispered secrets to the wind, about the way rivers bend, not because they are weak, but because they know how to last. We used to laugh, you know. The boys would be throwing spears, and Kojo would be sketching frogs in his notebook. This one? The elders would say, this one will be the village scribe, not a chief. And we all agreed. Even Kojo didn't argue. But fate doesn't care for our opinions. It was during the season of elephants, when the dry heat makes your bones sweat, that Chief Tando fell ill. At first, it was just coughing, but within a moon's turn, he was laid down on his mat, barely whispering. The healer came, burnt herbs, whispered prayers in Twi, but the chief was slipping away like the sun at dusk. Before he passed, he called his sons and the elders. I have ruled long, he said, voice thin like old cloth. But Apitu needs more than a strong back. The world is changing. Roads are being carved through the forest. White men send letters faster than horses. We need wisdom now, more than ever. Then he looked at Kojo. You are not like your brothers. That is why the crown must be yours. You could have heard a calabash crack from across the compound. Kojo! Kojo with the skinny arms and soft voice. Kojo who cried when the goat gave birth too early. Even Kojo looked like he'd been slapped. He knelt down, took his father's hand and said, I cannot, Papa. I am not made for that burden. But Chief Tando just smiled. A sad, proud smile, and said, sometimes it is not the loudest drum that keeps the dance going. The chief passed that night. The village wailed for 3 days. We wore black, we poured libations, we sang his praise songs until our voices cracked. But beneath the mourning, there was confusion. The elders began preparing the stool for Kojo, but he vanished. Some said he went to his mother's village. Others whispered he had run to Kumasi to avoid the weight of the crown. For weeks, we were leaderless. And then the trouble came. Apitu sat at the edge of a dispute between 2 larger villages, Bonsu and Odotobri, over a sacred piece of land where a river met an ancient tree. A land we had quietly protected for generations. With no chief, no strong voice to stand before them, both villages sent word, Apitu must choose a side. Sides. In our land, choosing sides meant war. The elders met. Yor and Kweku stood ready. Make me chief, Yor said. I will show them the power of Apitu. Kweku nodded. Give me the stool and I will ride to Bonsu and make them bow. But no one felt right. It was like trying to light a fire with wet wood. Then, one morning, just as the cocks were crowing, Kojo returned. No drums, no fanfare, just a cloth over his shoulder and dust on his feet. He went straight to the elders, stood before them, and said, "I will not take the crown, but let me try something first." We were stunned, but something in his voice. It wasn't soft anymore. It was steady. Kojo spent the next 3 days writing letters. Not declarations, not threats, but stories. He told of how Apitu had kept the sacred land clean, had protected the river when others sought to fish it dry. He spoke of the tree's roots touching all 3 lands, of how the ancestors used to gather under its branches. He sent those letters to both Bonsu and Odotobri, sealed with the old chief's mark and a simple note: "Let us meet under the tree, as our ancestors did." And you know what? They came. It was the hottest afternoon I've ever known. But beneath that old tree, Kojo stood like he'd been born there. He didn't shout. He didn't boast. He spoke gently but firmly. He reminded them that while chiefs die, rivers do not. That borders change, but land remembers kindness. He suggested a pact. The land would remain untouched, guarded by all 3 villages, shared equally, tended with care. It was unbelievable. But in the end, both villages agreed. There was no war. Not a single drop of blood was spilled. Afterward, the elders again offered Kojo the crown. He shook his head. "I am not made for the stool," he said, "but I will walk beside it." Instead, Yor was made chief, with Kojo as his advisor. And truly, it worked. Yor led with strength, Kojo with wisdom. One moved the arms, the other moved the heart. Years later, when I sat with Kojo beneath the same tree, I asked him why he refused the crown. He looked up at the branches and said, "Because sometimes the tree needs someone to water its roots, not climb its branches." So remember, children, leadership is not always loud, and wisdom does not always wear gold. Sometimes the one who turns away from the crown saves more than the one who wears it. Now go. The stars are out, and the drums are quiet, but the story lives in you now.